Breaking news. Danny Ainge accepts a new CEO basketball position with a different team. Let's get a Celtics fan's perspective on how they feel about it next, guys. Alrighty, guys. Jags to riches, James Peters, straight to it. Breaking news. Danny Ainge. Woj bomb. Danny Ainge. ESPN story on the Utah Jazz hiring Danny Ainge to oversee basketball operations. Jazz owner Ryan Smith has had a long-time friendship with Ainge, who was a legendary player at BYU. Ainge stepped down as the Celtics GM after last season, but now returns to the Jazz to oversee basketball operations and work closely with GM Justin Zanuck. So I basically want to just briefly talk about who Danny Ainge is, give a quick overview of him, his history with the Celtics and the NBA, and then honestly just kind of go into my opinion. It's kind of a weird thing here. There's either one of two things going on, and I'll talk about if it's this scenario how I feel, and if it's this scenario how I feel. It just, this entire thing seems very strange to me, and it reminds me, guys, remember, I'm a diehard Celtics fan, but I am also a Jacksonville Jaguar fan. And I live in Jacksonville, Florida, which is Gator country. My point being is it reminds me a little bit of the Urban Meyer situation. You know, it's like, and we'll get to that, but looking at Danny Ainge himself, who is Danny Ainge? I mean, this guy's an NBA legend. Wikipedia right here, 62 years old. Played, I mean, how many years was he? He was a high school multi-sport legend, college BYU, second round, 31st pick by the Boston Celtics. Playing career, here it is, from 1981 to 1995. Played nearly a decade with the Celtics from 81 to 89, then played several seasons with the Kings, the Blazers, the Suns, before ultimately retiring and becoming an actual head coach of the Suns for several years. Two-time NBA champion, both with the Boston Celtics, 84 and 86. NBA All-Star in 88. Like I said, once again, he was a college BYU legend, also a baseball legend. The man actually played right here, Toronto Blue Jays for several years, hitting multiple home runs. There it is, 2 home runs. Like I said, NBA champion and an executive of the year in 2008 for the Boston Celtics. Now, I don't think people realize his stats either as a player, guys. Career numbers. Averaging nearly 16 points, 5+ rebounds, 3 assists. No, excuse me. 5+ assists with 4 rebounds. Some of the height of his best seasons, basically right at 20 points, 6.5 assists, almost 4 boards. And look at this, the shooting. 38% for 3 for a career, multiple seasons, 44%, 41%, 40%, 40%. Now, first and foremost, congratulations to Danny Ainge. As a Boston Celtic, he is a legend here. He brought us our last championship. As he was a multiple-time champion as a player. He has several championships as a player and as an exec. I mean, that says something about the man's roots in Boston. Now, when he stepped down, which was in June, and I'll show you the article right here because I was digging. I was trying to remember why exactly did he step down. And as you see right here, CBS Boston, decision nearly 2 years in the making. Started thinking about leaving 2 years ago when he suffered a heart attack. Right there, health concerns similar to Urban Meyer's, right? What am I doing with my life? My children in the hospital. I need to quit doing this. The last 2 years were tough. The bubble, the COVID. So you start hearing that stuff right there, right? And it makes it seem, just like Urban did, it was health concerns and wanting to spend more time with the family just to quickly in the near future, we're talking 6 months here, this is the same year, come back to a better, let's call it what it is, a better situation. Urban left Florida right as Tebow and the Tebow Express was leaving, get a little break, and then ends up at a perennial national champion contender, Ohio State, where he had roots there too. And it's just, what a coincidence, right? That Danny Ainge, and I get the roots that he has there, guys, his family, I get all that. But I'll vent. All right, but here's two ways I'm looking at it. This is just strange to me. Why couldn't he have this exact same position with the Celtics, right? This just seems like, so it makes it seem like, was Danny fired? Or it seems like either Danny Ainge might have been fired or forced out, or, and I'm hoping it's not this, but it seems like this might be, because I just don't see like Wick and them forcing Danny Ainge out. Like, I know at the end of last year, we needed to shake things up a little bit, change some things. But I mean, we're already starting to quickly realize this year how many people are already saying that maybe Brad wasn't the, reason. We're hearing that everywhere. So, I mean, you see all the changes, what that Brad did with the roster. It might have just needed to be that. I would be curious to see Brad coaching this group. So my point being is, yes, there needed to be a change, but did it need to be like an entire organizational strip? We look the damn same. We have the same record this year as last year after 26 games. So I just don't see him being forced out. And then he's citing all this health concern, this and that, and then he comes right back. And this is where it's like, I'm a little salty. And I know it's hard to say this, and you're going to get backlash because it's Danny, and I get it. But to me, it almost feels like he's leaving the Celtics in a shitty situation, guys. He left us in a pretty shitty spot at the end of his tenureship. For all the great things that he did in Boston, those last couple years really weren't that solid when you really think about it. And he left us in a tough, for a brand new first year at his position, he was in a very interesting, tough spot. And a few months later, now Danny gets to go work as a CEO in charge of basketball ops, essentially the same position for the Utah Jazz. Basically, you're talking about one of the best and brightest franchises today and in the future. This is a team that is led by Quinn Snyder as the head coach, a guy who I was just thinking the other day, like, with Pop getting ready to retire, who's his successor as the best in the league? And I'm thinking immediately Spoelstra and Quinn Snyder. He was right up there. He's one of those guys that has been like incredible for years. I used to watch him a lot back when Gordon Hayward was there, and I knew that the Celtics were probably going to get Hayward. So I remember being fascinated with Snyder back then. And then he's got Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert and just this incredible core. And then is led by a young guy in Donovan Mitchell. I mean, it's just... And they're right up at the top of the West. They have been. It's just, you leave a struggling Boston team to go to a contender. And by struggling, check this out. This is what the team looked like last year, guys, at the end of the season. Kemba, Jalen, Fournier, Smart, Tatum, Tristan Thompson, Romeo, Aaron Nesmith, Grant, Luke Cornett, Peyton Pritchard, Rob Williams, Semi, Carson Edwards, and Jabari. So, and the Fournier thing, that actually really, I love that move, especially when you're talking about for picks. But, imagine if that trade didn't happen, what this team would look like. And, shout out to Brad, because you click at the team this year and you instantly start thinking about what he did when he came in. And immediately Brad comes in and shakes the tree, gets rid of Kemba, which now he looks like an absolute genius. Because you remember all the shit OKC was talking about, we're actually going to get a good return, and we're actually going to get a first-round pick back for him. They ended up having to buy him out, and now he's not even in the Knicks rotation. Free my man Kemba. But Brad looks like a genius because Al has been sensational for us. Then he goes out, he flips, a young upcoming kid in Moses for Josh Richardson, who's been a great vet and is getting stronger as the season progresses. He, without question, had the best signing of the offseason from a talent to dollar amount when it came to bringing Dennis Schroeder in, who's been sensational for what he was expected to do. bringing back in Ennis Freedom, who is continually getting better, and just turning in some of those other players. All those other guys, they're back. He locks up Smart and Rob at reasonable amounts. I mean, Grant Williams is playing at his all-time best. It's just a lot of the moves, sending out Carson Edwards and bringing in Wancho, even though Wancho didn't work out, is just trying to hit that with that position of need, and for a guy that's not even in the league anymore. So, I mean, Brad has been awesome so far. I'm not a member of the Fire Ime. I wasn't a member of the Fire Brad, but again, it's hard not to feel happy for Danny Ainge, just as a Celtics, fan, and what he's meant to this organization. But it's just something about it doesn't feel right. It just feels like he was either forced out, which I think is bullshit. Just because I didn't think it needed, like I said, we needed a change. But I don't think if it needed to be Danny, stepping all the way out like he did, basically either retire, he either quit or was fired. I don't think that was needed. And I didn't think Brad needed to be replaced as a coach. I mean, I think that's getting, more evident as the season continues. But something just stinks here. And I just hope it's not. He has every right to make a change, guys. Don't get it twisted. He has every damn right. If he wants to go Boston, have you lived in Boston? Like, you're slipping and sliding on the damn ice, on the sidewalks, the weather. Like, instead of that, you get to go to Utah, like your family's there. You've got property there. I mean, he has every right to go do that. Shit, I don't know. Like, why? But he has every right. But just something about it just seems like it stinks a little bit. It's just, you left us in a tough situation with a banged up, shitty roster. Kimba was still here with multiple $35+ million years left on his contract. We were just in a really dark spot, man. And really, to think if Brad wasn't able to shake out and do that Al Horford trade, just to how great that's looked, and getting Dennis, I mean, imagine, imagine the state of this team right now. Because I still believe and feel really good about this team if it's healthy and everything is clicking. But again, congratulations to Danny Ainge. Much love and respect always. Thank you so much for everything you meant to the city of Boston and the Boston Celtics organization. If he was forced out, I think that's bullshit. I think he deserved better than that. But then again, if it truly was just Danny needed a change, if there was health concerns, I understand, the time of year in the bubble and just the state of the world, it's draining everyone. So I get coming out of the bubble and just being away from your family. Maybe he just needed, it was just time for a change. And if that's the case, I get it. But it just, something about just, leaving us how it was left. Not trading Gordon for Miles Turner and Doug McDermott when you could have. And now it's looking like the damn TPE that, that Hayward turned into Fournier. Now they're talking about going to get Doug McDermott with that TPE, and you could have had him and Turner for, a year ago. It's just a lot of the moves he made in those last couple of years were extremely questionable and left the team in a tough spot. Thank God Brad, wasn't, gun shy, so to speak. He came out, letting it fly, making some moves and really shaking up the roster. But, Jags to riches, guys. Tomorrow, Trust the Podcast, episode 8, 2 p.m., Thursday the 16th. Me and Bobby, we promised a big follow-up to the Bobby Manning special guest episode 6 episode, and I was able to secure my man John Corrales from Locked On Celtics. You don't need me to tell you who he is. If you're a Celtics fan and you're into Celtics media, he is, the GOAT, in my opinion. Locked On Celtics is the best podcast, #1 Celtics podcast in the world, and it's an honor to be able to get him on. So please, we will be live streaming from Beast Movie NT tomorrow at 2 p.m. Please come through, show some love, support. Subscribe to all 3 channels. Let's help get John up that Locked On over 4K. That would mean a lot if we could really help him, because this means a lot, him coming onto our platform. So please take a moment. Shit, if you're watching this video, you're probably already subscribed to him. But hey, I'm doing what I can. James Peters, Jags Riches. I love each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day. I hope to see you at the live stream tomorrow, guys.